Hi, and welcome to AE Helps IELTS test preparation videos. This lesson video and these materials, as well as the skills and strategies that you will learn, are coming from www.aehelp.com. For lots more help with the academic IELTS, please visit us there and join the full course. This lesson is going to be about the strategies and skills that you can learn and use for the true, false, not given questions of the IELTS reading section.
Continental drift and plate tectonics. When looking at a map of the world, it is natural to notice that Africa and South America seem to be able to fit together, as if they are two parts of a former whole. It was this insight which led Flemish cartographer Abraham Ortelius in 1596 to put forward for the first time the idea that at one period the continents were in different places than they are today. It would take over 300 years for the theory to be fully developed, and 50 years after that for the mechanism of the phenomena to be discovered. It was not until 1915 that German geologist Alfred Wegener proposed the continental drift theory, which states that the Earth's crust is made up of many sections that float slowly over the molten mantle and core of the Earth. Wegener argued that in the past the continents were all stuck together. He called this supercontinent Pangaea, which is Greek for all Earth. Wegener hypothesized that approximately 200 million years ago this supercontinent began to break up, and the pieces began to move away from each other. Initially, Pangaea divided into two parts, named Laurasia and Gondwana. Laurasia consisted of what is today North America, Asia and Europe, whilst Gondwana comprised modern-day South America, Africa and Australia. These supercontinents eventually split apart further, resulting in today's continental configuration. It is interesting to note that today's continental alignment is just that. Millions of years in the future, the Earth's continents will appear very different. Given enough time, it is possible that the Earth's land masses will return to a Pangaea-like unified state. The evidence for continental drift is plentiful. The most common evidence is the discovery of the same type of dinosaurs in extremely different locations. The same type of dinosaur fossil will be found in northeastern parts of South America, as well as northwestern parts of Africa. The logical explanation for phenomena such as this is that at one time these parts of the world were not only connected, but adjacent. The evidence for continental drift was discovered long before an explanation for it was found. It was during the 1960s that the theory of plate tectonics was developed. This new theory explained fully the nature of the Earth's crust, that it was broken up into many pieces that tended to smack into each other and pull apart from each other. In extreme cases, such as the Indian subcontinent, a plate's movement can be so severe that it causes massive mountains to be formed when the plates hit another. This is precisely what has happened over the past millions of years, when the Indian plate colliding with the Eurasian plate, in the process creating the Himalayas, which include the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest. Plate tectonics are not only responsible for mountains and the movement of the continents, they are also responsible for volcanoes. Volcanoes usually result from one of the two plate configurations. They form in places where the plates are colliding, or where the plates are pulling apart. In the first case, the plates come together pushing against each other, causing friction and heat, which allows some of the crust material to melt, resulting in liquid magma. Because magma is less dense than the surrounding rock, it ends up rising to the surface, where it becomes a volcano. An example of this type of volcano is the famous Mount Vesuvius, which destroyed the city of Pompeii in 79 CE. The second type of volcano comes from divergent plates. These types tend to be underwater, as in the mid-oceanic ridges. Volcanic islands such as Iceland and Hawaii were formed by underwater volcanic activity, eventually spewing off enough matter to form land above the water. Of course, there is one final important result of plate tectonics: earthquakes. Earthquakes are perhaps the most terrifying of all natural disasters. They are practically invisible. They happen below the Earth's surface and have devastating results. Earthquakes happen along fault lines, places where two plates are colliding, diverging, or slipping past each other. In the case where the two plates are attempting to slip past each other, the most devastating earthquakes can occur. This is because friction does not allow the plates to pass each other until sufficient energy to counteract the resistance has been built up. So the two plates rub against each other for centuries or millennia until one day they finally slip. This slip is what results in a sudden catastrophic earthquake. If this slip occurs in the ocean, underneath the Earth's surface, it can cause a massive tidal wave known as a tsunami. If this slip occurs directly beneath a major city, massive destruction will result. There are many such cities at risk of these earthquakes, many of them along what is known as the Ring of Fire, surrounding the Pacific Ocean. These cities include Tokyo, San Francisco, Vancouver, and Santiago. Understanding plate tectonics reveals that it is not a question of if these major cities will get hit by an earthquake, it is only a question of when.
Continuing on with strategies for the true, false, not given questions, there's a couple of points that you need to remember about the IELTS exam and the way that these questions are created. So the IELTS exam is a progressive test, which means that it becomes more and more difficult within each section the later you are. So it means that question number 1 will be the easier question, and then 2 will be more difficult, 5 will be even more difficult, 10 will be even more difficult, and so on. In the reading section, passage 1, generally speaking, will be the easier passage, then passage 2 will be more difficult, and finally passage 3 will be the most difficult. Sometimes students say that they find the second or third passage easier. This is usually because they're more familiar with the topic from their own experience. But generally speaking, the passages do increase in difficulty. Now, this is also true for questions. So within each question set, usually the first question is the easier question, and then the second question is more difficult, third question is more difficult. So this is important to remember for the true, false, not given, because the first true, false, not given question that you're looking at will usually be the easiest question. So that means that if you want to spend some time to make sure that you got an answer correct, you should spend time on the first 2, 3 true, false, not given questions, and don't worry too much about the last 1 or 2 true, false, not given questions. I mean, do your best, give an answer, and then move on to the next questions. This is because in many cases, the last 1 or 2 true, false, not given questions, they're testing for level 7, 8, or even 9 IELTS proficiency. Make sure you get the first few true, false, not given questions correct. Okay, and again, do your best for questions 5, 6, or even 7, but don't spend too much time there. Also, the other point that you need to remember about the way that the questions are made in the reading section is they're synchronous with the passage. So what I mean is that question 1 will be somewhere near the beginning of the passage for the answer. Question 2 will be in maybe paragraph 2 or later. 3 will be in the third, and so on. And then the answers for true, false, not given question 4, 5, or 6 will be somewhere in the last couple paragraphs. Often for the last true, false, not given question, or the last 2, you need to understand more than one of the last paragraphs to get them correct. This is why I said that those ones test a higher level of English, so you shouldn't waste too much time trying to figure those out or get confused or get disappointed. Just do your best and move on. It's the first few that you must make sure you get correctly. So again, remember with the questions that the questions follow with the passage. And again, this means that the first true, false, not given will be earlier, the last one will be near the end. All right, so this is what you need to know about the questions to use your time more efficiently and also to control your thinking and your confidence a little bit better. All right, now that you know this, the other 2 points to really pay attention to are visualization and paraphrasing. So with visualization, as I've mentioned in several of the previous lessons, humans are primarily visual beings. This means that we experience most of our world through our eyes. This is very important when we're reading text for good comprehension. You need to be able to see what you read. This is true whether you're reading in your own language or whether you're reading in English or another language. You must try to picture or imagine what you're reading. If your visualization is the same in the true, false, not given as what you visualized when you read the passage, it's very likely that the answer is true and it was given because you saw it when you read the passage and then you saw it when you read the question. So you don't need to think too hard. You saw it in both cases, the same idea, the same picture. It should be true. If you saw the opposite, then it's probably false. If you visualize when you read the question and you think, I didn't see anything like that when I was reading the passage in my mind, then it's going to be not given. So for visualization, you should think about it like, did I see this in the passage? If your answer is yes, then it's probably going to be true, okay? If your answer is, I saw the opposite, then likely your answer is going to be false. If your answer is going to be, I didn't see anything like that, then your answer should be not given, okay? Now, again, remember that this type of strategy will only work if you read the passage first and then read the questions after. This is, again, another reminder here for why you must not read true, false, not given questions before you read the passage, because then this strategy will not work. Your brain will be confused and it will not remember if it saw the information when reading the questions or when reading the passage. This is only effective if you follow that first rule. Do not read true, false, not given questions before the passage. All right, if we look at our example, we can go through it very quickly and simply with this strategy. So it took over 350 years for the theory and mechanism of continental drift to be fully developed. Indeed, I saw while reading the passage somebody developing this theory and then it taking it another 300 years and another 50 years for this to happen. So I visualized that passage of time. I saw the change in history and almost into modern time before we really got to this. So that helps me to gain confidence in the answer that it's true. The Earth's crusty shell is made up of plates which float slowly across the ocean. This is 21. When I visualize this, so when I close my eyes and I see these big plates floating like boats on the ocean, It's a strange visualization for me. It's too imaginary, it's too cartoony. I don't think our planet works that way. So this is where I know that there's a mismatch. I saw maybe not the opposite, but something quite different when I was reading the passage. So I don't think this will be a true answer. Therefore, again, gives me confidence that it's false. There's significant evidence that India was once attached to Antarctica. I didn't see anything like that when I visualized this passage of India being attached somewhere else. So, especially to Antarctica, which is of course all covered with ice, and India is a very warm place. So I didn't visualize this very warm Indian subcontinent landmass being attached to this icy piece. So it's just not going to be there. So it's not given. Mount Everest is a result of a collision between Eurasian and Himalayan plates. I definitely visualized Mount Everest being formed when I read the passage. But here I didn't really see it as a Himalayan plate. I saw Himalayan mountain. So there's a little bit of a mismatch here. Again, that helps me to get the answer that it's false. So very powerful tool for solving true, false, or yes, no, not given questions. Again, make sure to practice this one at home. All right, now the final strategy here for true, false, not given, which is of course paraphrasing. So let's have a look at that. So last but not least is paraphrasing for true, false, not given. Of course, as you know from previous lessons now, paraphrasing is one of the primary tools or main tools used by the test makers to assess your level of English proficiency. Just a quick review from previous paraphrasing lessons, that there are a couple of main ways that we can paraphrase language within the IELTS test. So one, of course, is using synonyms. So different words that share the same meanings, like go and leave. Another way to paraphrase is antonym plus negative. Of course, two negatives make a positive. So we can do the same in some language situations, like stay, don't go. So this is an antonym with a negative paraphrasing. Then, of course, we have grammar. A simple example is passive and active voice. So I'm driven to school by my mom. This is passive. My mom drives me to school. This is active form. So this is a type of grammar paraphrasing. There's lots of other types, but that's one, or lots of other examples, but that's one example. And then, of course, there's also expressions. Expressions include idioms, phrasal verbs, and so on, just to be on the same page, which means to share the same idea or to have the same idea is a good example. And then a fifth way is descriptive. So descriptive paraphrasing is basically paraphrasing something by describing it. So it's delicious, it's red, it's round, it's an apple. So this is a descriptive type of paraphrasing. Now, IELTS examiners use all of these different types of paraphrasings to test your knowledge. When you practice these, when you can recognize these, for sure you're going to improve your score, and this is very true for the yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given types of questions. So when we look at the questions, then we can see that the first question is paraphrased in paragraph A. It says, it would take over 300 years for the theory to be fully developed and 50 years after that for the mechanism of the phenomenon to be discovered. So this is a type of descriptive paraphrasing where you see that the answer is true from two phrases which describe the answer. And then For the next question, so question number 21, in paragraph B, we can see that's where the answer is coming from. The Earth's crust is made up of many sections that float over the molten mantle and core of the Earth. So here we can see that the answer is false, and we can see some synonyms like sections instead of plates. When you recognize this, you can get the correct answer there. Again, notice how the answers are coming in sequence. So answer for question 20 from first paragraph, answer for question 21 from the second paragraph. And then for question 22, you're likely not going to find this paraphrasing because the answer is not given. So again, this is where you just need to rely more on your logic and more on your visualization. And then question 24, again, we can see some paraphrasing. So the answer is coming from paragraph E at the end. We can see the Indian plate colliding with the Eurasian plate, in the process creating the Himalayas, which include the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest. So here we can see that there is some synonym paraphrasing, but we can also see that there's nothing here paraphrasing this Himalayan continent. So again, you can get that when you pay attention to the details. And you can see, of course, collision, colliding, some grammar paraphrasing there. Okay, so practice these skills. Make sure you pay attention to the way that the questions are created. Visualizing the information is absolutely important. And then, of course, practice the first strategy that we looked at, which is using your logic and figuring out whether information is important for the topic or not, and whether or not that information may be true. When you practice these skills with several different examples, for sure your confidence will improve for this type of question, and for sure you will begin to see that you're getting more and more of them correct. If you have any questions, please contact us through our website or send us a comment, and we will happily reply and give you the best advice we can. Good luck with your studies from the team at www.aehelp.com. This lesson and the materials that you just saw, including the strategies, are coming from www.aehelp.com. For lots more help with the academic IELTS and to see many more helpful tips and tricks, please visit us at www.aehelp.com and join our full course.